Good evening to the fabulous Accenture women and our allies who are here today. And I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to be with you tonight. My apologies that I could not be there in person because I'm in quarantine at the moment and I'm under house arrest post my chemo. But I could not give up an opportunity to connect with all of you on a passion and advocacy that has been so close to my heart. And so I asked Ted if I could do this virtually so that I could still be with you somehow. I have been a women's rights advocate, I think, from the time I was in grade 2. A story I think many of you have heard because I told this story in Cebu at one IWD event. But it really, in summary, is that I had a realization about the unfairness of gender stereotypes at the age of 8, simply because I was told that girls could not run for class president or they could only join the student council as a secretary or muse, when I knew that I could do a better job as the guy that was running for president. So sadly, this went on, and I grew up in a society where even women a generation ahead of me, including my teachers, my aunts, and my own mother, found nothing wrong with automatically assuming that men would take the lead or do a better job in certain things. So from that day on, I became someone who was passionate about getting equality for women, although I didn't realize it until much later on in my life. And then when I became the mother of 2 girls, even more did I dream that one day we wouldn't need a special day to ask for equality for women because we would have reached it. And International Women's Day would become simply a celebration of how wonderful women are, and that we would not have to fight anymore because we would have achieved the goals. And so when I think about Accenture's Accenture's tagline for this International Women's Day, which is Beyond Limits, I really think about it as more than beyond limits, but rather despite limits. I think that we all have the capacity, if we have the will, to overcome limits that are so artificial that society places between us and achieving what we want to achieve in life. And a lot of that is taking care of ourselves, paying attention to our wellness to make sure that we are in peak performance, in peak condition to take on the challenges and to break through those limits. But I think sometimes we forget in the struggle of doing what we have to do every day and the pressures that surround us. Sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves because we're so busy taking care of everything and everyone else. So today I wanted to talk about wellness and the challenges that is posed to women like you and to our allies who are here, because society, work, family, even our social lives, our friends, despite the fact that we love them so much, they can sometimes make so many unrealistic demands on our time. And since we are all highly competitive, highly achieving people, we want to do the best of everything. We want to be the best at what we do, and we want to be the best in every single thing that we do. At home, we're expected to be super mom. We manage the household, we tutor the kids, we manage the help, we keep the house immaculate. At work, we're expected to lead, to be high performing, to run high performing teams, to deliver to quotas. And in society, there's so much pressure to look good, to be skinny, to be beautiful, to dress well. And sometimes we enjoy that. I personally, if you stop me for working for more than 1 week, I get anxious. And I love being super mom most of the time. And I'm such a social creature that I thrive on engaging with others and socializing. Someone once told me or asked me, "Oh, you look so good. You don't look like you have cancer." And I said, well, what is a person that has cancer supposed to look like? Because me, I'm gonna go down fighting in my high heels and my red lipstick, because part of my mental wellness is knowing that I am making an effort to look as good as I did before I got sick. And that's just part of what makes me tick. And we need to pay attention to that. But so I was living this fantastic life in my mind anyway. I thought I had everything together. I was doing well in work. I finally lost the 15 pounds I've been wanting to lose. It was the pandemic, so I was spending more time with my kids at home. I was gardening, or rather killing plants in the name of gardening. And I thought I had the perfect life. But all this came to a screeching halt when I realized that wellness was not just about running that 5 kilometers or losing that 10 pounds. I realized I had to pay attention to my mental and emotional wellness as well. And it started with not sleeping properly. I don't know how many hours you sleep, but in my dream world, I sleep 8 hours. In reality, at that time, it reached a point where I would be happy if I got 3 hours sleep a night. And this is where I had to admit, I'm not superwoman, I'm not super mom, I'm not super boss. I need help. And this is where I realized that there is a beauty in the humility of asking for help. Stop and think about that. There is a beauty in the humility of asking for help. Because to me, asking for help is the first step to wellness. Admitting that you can't do everything on your own. And for me, asking for help for my insomnia led me to a greater realization that I was actually suffering from depression and anxiety. The insomnia was just a symptom of deeper problems that I had to address, because I was hiding behind the guise of I have to work, I have to take care of my kids, that I wasn't paying attention to the problems that I really had. And asking for help really started me on my journey to wellness. But just when I thought I was getting better from the insomnia and the depression and the anxiety, I was recovering and I was dealt a harsher blow. I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and the prognosis is that I have a 15 to 20% chance of surviving the next 5 years. But strangely, and I know it's going to sound weird to all of you, I was more depressed when I was suffering from depression from an unknown cause than I was when I learned I had cancer. And I asked my doctor why, and he said, it's your personality. He said, I'm more focused because we've identified the enemy. We know what is causing everything. So in true Accenture form, after the root cause analysis, I know I now had a goal. I know what I needed to get there. And so I went into all high performance mode and do what I have to do, right? Well, my story is not over. I am only in midpoint, so I can't answer that. It has not been an easy journey towards wellness. In February, I had my first setback. My PET scan, which we hoped would show that the first 3 rounds of chemotherapy would improve my chances, did not yield the results that we hoped for. And so, turns out I'm not eligible for the liver surgery that would have increased my chances of survival by 70%. So as it stands, I have a 15 to 20% chance of living out the next 5 years. So while I'm with you, I would like to leave you with these things that I've learned. Because despite the fact that there's a sell-by date stamped on my bottom, God has given me so many wonderful things, and I am in no place to complain, because God has given me everything I've ever dreamed of. And it would be selfish to complain that time is up. And the only thing I can do, I think, is to pass it forward and share what I've learned so that other people can benefit too. If there's anything of value in what I say, please take it and do with it as you please. And know that it comes from the best of intentions. So, like I said, first thing, there is beauty in asking for help. You're not Superwoman. No one can be. There will be times when you're overwhelmed and you're not expected to do it alone. In Accenture, you would be surprised how many people will raise their hands to help when you just ask. And as a leader, to me, seeking help is a sign of strength rather than weakness, because it shows you're the kind of leader who is humble enough to know their limitations, and someone that trusts their team to do well, a leader that can listen to others. And it goes for work as well as does home. Ask your kids for help. Ask your partner for help. Ask your friends for help. One of the gifts that cancer has given me is the realization of how loved I am, because so many people I thought had forgotten me years ago, have come back into my life to offer me help. And that is just so overwhelming. I think the feeling of asking for help and knowing that people will be there to help you is such a big support to your psyche and your mental wellness, because you have that insurance behind you. You know that if it gets too much, there will be someone on your side. Second, remember that wellness is a matter of perspective. Happiness is a matter of perspective. You choose to view life, and life will become what it is as you view it. You can choose to look at life as sorrow and pain and suffering, or you can choose to look for the things that make you happy in that exact same life. You flip the coin and look at the brighter side of things. And that probably makes me sound like Pollyanna, but believe me, it's helped me. So when people ask me how I can joke about my mortality, about how I have a Spotify playlist for my wake, and how I've asked one of my lawyers to make sure that the PowerPoint presentation is only nice selfies of me when I go, I tell people, when I learned I had cancer, I spent a week hiding and crying, cursing, raging, getting angry at God, getting angry at the world. But then I realized none of this raging or crying will help. And do I live the next 5 years being bitter and worrying about the last day when I have to go? Or do I live each day appreciating what I have until that very last day comes? So I chose life. I chose to live. I choose to be happy. And so should you. At the end of the day, worrying, crying, and being upset over things you cannot change or control, no matter how fabulous you are, is a waste of time, a waste of emotion, and a tax on your mental wellness. So for me, I will do my best. I will do what I can, but I will use the best of my abilities and resources to continue living well, to seek the treatment that I need. But once it reaches a point beyond my control, I let go. I don't dwell. And instead, I pay attention to the other things that matter. Even little things that can make you smile for 5 seconds is worth it. For me, it's my constantly dying garden. And this is a big thing because I can only grow cactus, and even the cactus will die. I don't know why. I cherish the team meetings because when I resolve, not just because we resolve issues and work, but because I get to see these wonderful people that I've mentored for years. I see them growing and shining, because another gift cancer has given me is that being on sick leave has given my team the opportunity to step up. And I'm overjoyed to see how they've thrived. The 5 seconds could even be just a quick phone call to my snarky 12-year-old where she tells me that my outfit sucks or I'm wearing the wrong lipstick. But I cherish these 5 minutes because, to me, they offset the 5 minutes of sadness that I could otherwise be indulging in or wallowing in. And lastly, and I know I've taken up so much of your time today, remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. All your responsibilities, all the things you have to do, they drain you. And this is really an amalgamation of my first and second points. Before you can give to others, there has to be a source of that giving. And if you are mentally, emotionally, and physically drained, how can you give to others? You're only human, and there's only 24 hours in one day. As a human, you're allowed to be tired, sad, upset, or even sometimes just lazy. Like, I don't want to get out of bed. Another 5 minutes will make me happy. And as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, why not? You are allowed 15 minutes of alone time to drink that cup of coffee in peace, even if you're at work. You're allowed to spend that 5-minute call to your child in the middle of the day just because it makes you happy. You are allowed that 10-minute Marites session with your friend, even if you have a deadline, because it allows you to shift your focus a little. And these micro breaks, when you take them, you'd be surprised how refreshed you are after. Of course, who wouldn't want to spend a week in Bali by the beach or a week in Europe to decompress? But for me, I mean, personally, realistically, these are out of the question because, well, I'm sick, poor, and broke. But I discovered that to refill my cup, I don't need big things like Bali or Paris. I can take advantage of little snippets of time between what I have to do and something I have to do. So between emails, I will feel a little refreshed and ready to take on the rest of my work when I can have a few minutes to myself. I can't have an espresso overlooking the Eiffel Tower, but I can have my cup of 3-in-1 coffee while I look at my dying cactus. I can't swim on the beaches of Bali, but I can block off an hour, lock my children out of the bathroom, and spend an hour in the tub listening to Harry Styles. There is so much I want to share with all of you and so little time today, and I've taken up so much of your time. But I feel like there's a deadline. So, you can ping me at m.l.desiderio-time@accenture.com, or if you see me in the hallway, just accost me and say hi. I know people think I'm unapproachable, but really I'm not. It's just usually I'm probably thinking of something else when I'm walking around, frowning at the floor as I walk in the hallways of CG. I'll be the one with the fighting red lipstick and the awesome shoes, because life is short, and why not? I would be happy to have the rest of this conversation with you. And remember, this offer is for a limited time only. 5 years. I love all of you, and I wish you all a happy International Women's Day. All my love.